It's time for Coach's Corner on KCCR, presented by the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection. Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com is also brought to you by Bank West, Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Todd's Electric, Oahe Federal Credit Union, Shane's Pharmacy, Missouri River Dentistry, CHS River Plains, Edward Jones Financial, Ferding Electric, First Dakota National Bank, Gales Gas, and Lamb Motors. And now, your host for Coach's Corner, John Winkler.
And a good evening as we welcome you here to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Looking forward to another good show here today as we will be joined with Coach Kerry Wheelhouse of the Pierre Governor volleyball team. We'll have our weekly conversations as well with our three football coaches, and Steve Steele, Tom Moore, and Max Foth of the Pierre Governors, Sully Beach Chargers, and Stanley County Buffaloes. Stanley County having their homecoming week this week, and they will finish out the week with that game against Redfield Friday night. We'll talk to all four of those coaches coming up here in just a little bit. Looking forward to another great show here on KCCR for another edition of Coach's Corner. We'll come back and talk with Steve Steele next. You're listening to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
No one likes to have electrical problems, but when they happen, call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. With over 30 years of experience, Todd's Electric can handle any type of electrical problem, whether it's residential, commercial, or agriculture. Their knowledgeable staff knows and understands the importance of your home, business, or ag facility and are prepared to help. That number again is 223-2518. Todd's Electric Service, serving the Pierre-Fort Pierre area. Todd's Electric Service, the line to power.
As community bankers, BankWest employees are deeply committed to supporting local causes, growing the local economy, and creating local opportunities. At a time when you can bank anywhere, we hope you choose BankWest. We'll be your financial partner for the long haul, helping you and your community achieve financial success. BankWest. Convenient, connected, committed. Member FDIC.
That's a clown question, bro.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Steve Steele of the Pierre Governors. Coach, we'll talk quite a bit about football in multiple different games, but we'll go back to last Friday here against Huron. 13-7 loss to the Tigers. Biggest takeaway overall from the loss on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, defensively, we're firing on all cylinders right now. That's really good. And offensively, again, I think everything 1 for 5 in the red zone is not going to cut it on most games. So we just got to clean up the red zone and take away the one play that kind of pushed us back or knocked us off the field, and we'll be fine. We'll be ready to go. I mean, we feel like we're in an okay spot, growth and everything wise. Just stinks that you have to learn the lessons in a loss.
And Mendel Miller and I on the call last Friday were talking about, too, that while you don't want to ever lose, you want to go 12-0 every single season, it's better at the beginning of September than at the beginning of November to take a loss like any loss at all, to take it in September than in November. Yeah,
and I think last year taught a lot of these guys that lesson, too. They understand that losing a game isn't losing the whole season. At this juncture, we didn't win a game in September last year, and we still, we're right there. So everyone's understanding that, hey, regular season, we just have to continually get better and we got to improve. And, it's a lot more fun to learn in wins than in losses. But, at some point, it makes it so that it's very clear and concrete, the lessons that you need to have when you lose a game.
And obviously you see box scores, you just see everything. But if you also looked at the box score outside of the scoring overall, that Governors had a lot of yards, and the offense was, while only 7 points were put up, there's a lot of offense. So while you're looking at some of that stuff, there is still a lot of good to take away from what that game had on Friday, that can move into next week and into the weeks ahead?
Yeah, I mean, again, really outside of, a couple plays, I think we operated very well. And it's just a couple key mistakes and key moments that ended up costing us the game. But I think the other part is, again, they came back and fought. After the pick six there at the end, I mean, we had 1 minute and 4 seconds, if I'm remembering right, to get down and, and score. And being able to throw 2 balls into the end zone at the end of the game, the guys didn't hang their head. They buckled down, got to work, and we're really close to pulling it off.
Again, talking with Coach Steve Steele here, the Pierre Governors. Move into Watertown here on this Friday's game. Rematch of the 11 AA state championship from last year, but Governors being 1-1, Arrows at 0-2 right now. It's more of a, we say it on the broadcast, and the coaches and players are not anywhere thinking or saying anything about a rematch from last year's state championship, because this is now into week 3, and there's a lot more to worry about for both these teams than last year's game.
Yeah, I don't think we've even brought it up, and I don't know that we will. It seems so far and so long ago that, we aren't worried about that. All we're worried about is we got to go out here and find a way to get a win.
What have you seen from Watertown going in on film? Again, being able to watch 2 games, and obviously Jefferson was a blowout loss, but then Yankton, 11 AA opponent. What have you seen on film from them? Yeah,
I mean, the biggest thing, they're still a big team. They've got good size. They've got some athletes that like to run the football. So, identity-wise, they're still pretty similar to last year, just a little bit younger, not as much experience back. And then defensively, they like to really bring those edge rushers. They've got a really good middle linebacker, and their coverage is going to force you to keep things underneath. So, it's a disciplined game again on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to try and prevent you from getting that quick score. So we've just got to make sure that we're able to be methodical and, not have the bad plays that we had that ended drives this last week.
We'll be seeing a new stadium for the first time in Watertown, and while football fields are still 100 yards between end zone to end zone, and the same length from one sideline to the other sideline, because it's a new facility, the sites will be a little bit different. How important is warm-ups and throwing passes for a quarterback to kind of understand how the distance that you need, the receiver to kind of understand what the backdrop will look like, and for guys that are receiving punts and kickoffs, how important it is to kind of get the feel of that in warm-ups because of the backdrop? Obviously, it changes as the time goes on overnight, but how important that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be important just to get out there and to move around on the field. Every field's a little bit different, even within the turf fields. Huron's field was an older turf field. Watertown's is brand new, so, it'll all feel a little bit different. Punt-wise, with the exception of the dome, I don't know that many of those have a huge thing just because it's still, night sky when you get up there. But passes can be important just with locations of the lights and the sun at times and stuff. So it's still important to get out there and get a feel for everything, but hopefully not a major factor, hopefully.
And again, the opportunity to get back into the game this week after the loss on Friday. How exciting is it to be able to get right back into the field on Friday night? Yeah,
I mean, it's been a long time coming, it feels like. I think everybody was ready to get back out there on Monday morning, and, that's the best thing about football, is when you've got another game to play, you've always got another opportunity to get out there and to get that good taste back in your mouth. And, we're fortunate. It's early in the season, and that opportunity comes quicker than it does, if it's the last game of the season and you've got to wait all off season for it.
We'll transition here. Let's talk a little NFL. Gray Zabel had his NFL debut, regular season debut on Sunday against the 49ers. And while the Seahawks did not get the win, it's my wife was talking about it. She's going to hate that I even just brought it up, but she just finds it so different to watch the offensive line play a game of football. And obviously, as a coach, you're looking at every single piece of every single, the receivers, the offensive line, the quarterbacks, the running backs, all of that, the defensive side. But watching one guy in particular to see how well he plays on the offensive line, and I think a lot of people that were watching him, that really focused on watching him, saw him do a lot of really good things for Seattle on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it was surreal, and it was a lot of fun to watch. He's still the same guy. He still does the same stuff. You can just see the enjoyment. I think Baldinger did another little deep dive on him here earlier in the week. Maybe it was just even yesterday, but he's coming around and he's just looking to hit somebody, and this just, you can see it, you can feel it in the personality of how he's playing, that, he loves contact and he loves being able to knock people onto the ground, and he did quite a bit of that. So it was really fun to watch.
and he obviously played quite a bit in the preseason. Didn't play the entire game during any of the preseason games, but did it feel a little bit different for you too to see him on the field in a regular season game, knowing that doesn't matter, in the preseason you go 0-3, that has no bearing on the regular season. Now that you're playing, these are very much important games for the team's record. Did it feel a little bit different seeing him jog out in the field on Sunday?
Yeah, it really did. And that's, the preseason games, they're practice. Is it a game? If you're getting to play in a preseason game, it's still pretty cool. Not taking anything away.
Right.
But at the end of the day, for the guys that aren't trying to make a roster, Gray was out. He's a first-round pick. He was making the roster. It's practice. Those are games for guys that are on the fringe. Those are practice for guys that are on the roster, where this was a game, and it was really cool just to see, that, he's out there and there was it wasn't like they were rep counting on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, he's out there and he's battling every play. So it was definitely different than the preseason games, but it was still a ton of fun to watch.
Now, obviously, you don't have to tell us the conversation if you had one, but did you get a chance to talk to him after the game, whether it be Sunday or Monday, and have a chance to kind of talk with him a little bit after playing in that first NFL game?
A little more sore now.
He's a little more sore.
Preseason
Okay.
game. I joked their facility looks a little bit more like a 5-star hotel, spa, and all these things than it does training rooms and stuff. But yeah, he's a little bit sore was the word than he had been in the preseason. But again, there's no rep counting, and again, there's just a different level of intensity, from anything practice to game, because even if you're playing against the one for San Francisco in a preseason game, you're going hard, but you're also not gonna leave it completely because you already know you're on the roster.
And you only got maybe 15, 20 snaps in total instead of about 60 snaps on one side of the ball.
Yeah. So like I said, the mentality's just a little different, and I think the body feels go along with that.
Which, it's such a awesome stuff, and hopefully, and I don't think I've ever watched a team more intently, that wasn't my team, to just want them to win a football game.
I'll promise I haven't.
Right. Well, I was say, I could watch the Super Bowl, I could watch any team. I could really hate one team. There's a couple of teams that I really hate, and I still don't want that other team to win as much as I did the Seahawks on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that was exactly it. And, usually my wife would tell you that I have a tendency to get rather fired up in games when things happen. Even if it's my team and I care about them, and we have football on all the time, obviously,
right,
and if it's a game that's not one of my teams, it's like I'll watch it and I might be like, oh, that was a good play, or wow, that was a really bad play. But apparently there's a different level of intensity that I bring to the table when I'm watching a game when I care. And she was like, gosh, I haven't ever heard you say this unless it's the Lions or anything like that, where she's like, yeah, you're really into this game. And I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
It is definitely different. Again, talking with Coach Steve Steele here, the Pierre Governors. They will take on Watertown coming up on Friday. Coverage will start at 6:30, 7 o'clock kickoff. Seattle Seahawks will play here on KCCR on Sunday. 12 o'clock kickoff. We'll join that after the church service when they're in Pittsburgh taking on the Steelers. We'll go back to high school football here and wrap things up. Biggest key for the Pierre Governors to get a win Friday night against the Watertown Arrows.
We got to stop the run, and we got to have red zone success. And one more quick thing before we completely finish is, we got a lot of guys that are doing really, really well in the college scheme. And I said Lincoln was really cool to see Lincoln get his first passing touchdown. At that level in front of all those fans. And he's probably going to have, some more opportunities. I know Ohio, by MAC standards, is pretty good.
But Big Ten standards.
By Big Ten standards, should hopefully not be as good. Jason Machachak got to play, had 4 drives result in touchdowns down at Nebraska.
Well, I think it was Big Ten Network to Big Ten Network. It was Ohio State to Nebraska, so you got a chance to go. Didn't have to change TV channel to watch those two guys play football on Saturday.
And so they've both done very, very well this last week. Trey Lewis has gotten onto the stat sheet at USF. Kyle Albertson's doing really well out in DC. So there's a lot of former Govs making some noise around the country right now in the college scene.
And I think Cade Kaiser and Trey Lewis were on the field at the exact same time against each other, which I don't think Trey was defending against Cade Kaiser, but still would have been fun. I wish they would have played man coverage and for some reason
just switched it for one play.
Put a linebacker on a receiver instead of a corner on him. But how awesome all that is, and we from Friday to Saturday to now Sunday, all these peer governors that are doing some incredible things at their respective schools and or now professions.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really fun to, Saturday you pull up the iPads because it's the only way to follow everything is, you can put some on TV, but then you've got NSIC Network over here, and you've got all these other different things to try and get everybody followed, and it's really cool to see everybody continue to love that game, love the game of football, and to go out and be able to be a great player and representative of peer all over the region here with some of the colleges, and then all over the country, obviously at the different levels.
Well, Coach, yeah, it is fantastic, and I know we've got plenty more weeks of Coach's Corner to go, and we'll be continuing to talk about I don't even want to put the 10-plus guys that we can talk about that are doing things past peer governor football into college and into the NFL, which is fun to say that we get a guy talking about the NFL. But appreciate the time, as always. Good talking to you. Looking forward to talking to you the pregame on Friday.
Thanks, John.
As head coach Steve Steele, the Peer Governors, back with more of Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
Hey you. Are you at a job that is fulfilling, has good benefits to support you or a family today, and retirement goes down the road? If you just said no, listen up. CHS River Plains is hiring operations personnel, drivers, and custom applicators at several locations. These come with a knockout affordable benefit package for you and the whole family. Apply to a job with CHS River Plains and up your benefits straight up. To apply, visit us online at chsriverplains.com or stop in at one of our locations. CHS is an equal opportunity employer.
Score big on your next vehicle purchase with Lamb Motor Company in Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre. Check out their large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs at any one of their locations, or go online to lambmotor.com. That's LAMBMOTOR.com. Or give them a call today at 800-952-2222. Lamb Motor Company of Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre.
Building a home. It's the biggest investment most of us make in a lifetime. Not to mention, it's a decision that, well, you pretty much live with day and night. The quality of the workmanship stares back at you like a reflection. It also affects the value of your investment. Choosing the right contractor is critical. Kruger Contracting is that contractor. Call 222-2523. Quality workmanship and materials completed on time. Kruger Contracting. In a word, quality. Call 222-2523.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
You like that? You like that?
As we welcome you back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Tom Moore of the Sylacuse Chargers as they return from their bye week and will travel to Tulare on Friday and take on the Hitchcock-Tulare Patriots. Coach, I know I ask this question every year, and no matter what the situation is, whether it's the beginning or the end of the year, you take your bye when you get your bye. You can't do anything about it. But this year, after just 2 games, you have your bye. What's the biggest benefit of having it early, and especially with this team? What's the biggest benefit of having that bye early?
Having it early is usually you kind of want it mid or later in the year, but this year having such a young or inexperienced team actually came at a pretty good time. We played 2 games, kind of figure out personnel, who's going to go where, and having it early gave us a week to kind of get some depth figured out or get kids in the right or better spots than maybe they were where they started. So actually was a pretty good time for us for being inexperienced, and we had a nice JV game with Holden at the end of the week. So actually it was a pretty good week for us.
Well, and you're starting out 2-0 with a 36-0 win against Northwestern and a 62-7 win against Burke. You mentioned just, the inexperience of your team and trying to figure things out with the bye, but what's your biggest takeaway from those 2 big wins to start the season for the Chargers?
We were able to kind of get, towards the end there in the middle of the Burke, kind of got people in spots that we wanted to get them into. Be able to play defensively, so we getting our kids in the right scheme and the right positions was something that we did a lot better against Burke. So that was good to see. And offensively, we're trying to figure out who some weapons are and who can do some things for us. So it was good to see us be able to put some points up against Burke. So it was good for him.
Hitchcock-Tulare is your opponent. We'll talk about them here in just a little bit as well. But, we'll go back to the bye week last week. And what probably is super beneficial, too, for every team that's got a bye is being able to use that full week on not worrying about preparation. You kind of go back to not necessarily all the way back to the beginning of the year where you're not preparing for anybody, but you can use it for anything but preparation that week of the bye. And now you start this week of preparing for Hitchcock-Tulare.
Yeah, for sure. Last week we really didn't do anything with Hitchcock stuff. We just was straight Sully Buttes on Sully Buttes. What's going to make us better? Did some schemes and some footwork stuff, and just try to get us better from things that we saw the last two games, like getting our hat in the right spot, using our hands much better, trying to become more physical. So it was strictly a Sully Buttes week for sure, other than the finish with Holden JV stuff. So we'll worry about Hitchcock this week and get ready for a good team coming in.
Talking with Coach Tom Moore of the Sully Buttes Chargers, and meant to ask you this question beforehand, but you win 36-0, you win 62-7. People see the scores and they say, hey, two great wins. You've allowed 7 points. You've basically scored 50 points in 2 games, on average. But as a coach, there's always still stuff to be working on. There's always still stuff that isn't, what you wanted to see. What's the biggest thing that you've seen the first 2 games saying, hey, we got to be better as Sully Buttes Chargers. We have to be better in this area?
Physicality and getting off the ball was definitely one focus for us after the first 2 games. First game for surely against Northwestern, our front didn't play offensively, did not play real well. But there's definitely some things that we can shore up there. But we graduated. At the end of the year, we had 5 seniors that went across the board there, with Cooper kind of Falkenhagen being one that played quite a few substantial downs in there throughout the year. So that we knew going in was going to be a little bit tougher of a situation, just trying to get a bunch of new faces doing different things. And I thought Burke, we played a little bit better up front. We got out the ball a little bit better, still need to be more physical. That's just something we'll talk about all year long with these guys. So hopefully we're gaining that confidence that's going to allow us to play a little more physical. But that's definitely one standout. And we knew going in that was going to be something that was going to have to be a focus on.
And now let's talk a little bit about Hitchcock-Tulare. They won last Friday against Northwestern 38-26, and they're 1-2 right now. Is it really kind of nice because, one, we're so early in the season, but they just played a team that you played a couple weeks ago. So when you're scouting them, does it make things a little bit easier to kind of understand and see, or maybe for the kids to understand and see some of the tendencies that Hitchcock-Tulare likes to do because they're familiar with the opponents that they just played last Friday?
Just a little bit. Those are 2 teams, both with brand new coaches, both with really, really good high pedigree coaches that have been in the Dome, so they know what it takes to get things done. Northwestern's going to get better every single game they play. Hitchcock's is the spooky team. I picked them being one of the top teams, I think, in the state. I know they have a couple injuries that are going on, but they have the pieces to be a very, very good football team. And I know our kids, I've talked to them about that. So they're 1-2, but they could easily be 3-0, kind of a caliber of team. So they're big and they're physical, and they can get downhill up front, and their front's definitely going to be the toughest one up to this point that we've seen by a long shot. So expecting a very, very good game against these guys.
Well, and going into that game, then talk about the guys up front. How do you make sure you get pressure on the quarterback? How do you, or maybe get in the backfield on running backs, and then for Wesley Whitler and your running backs, how do you make sure that those guys don't necessarily, one, I guess, get the blocking, but not escape the pocket or not, start to change the plan of the play early on? How do you make sure those guys are ready to go for the game on Friday?
Well, just some work these next couple days at practice. Trying to get the right angles on these people. I mean, they're going to have juniors and seniors spread all across the board and pretty big. So we're definitely going to have to use some angles to our benefit. Taking some of those guys on head on, it isn't very good for us. So it'll just be some scheme work by Coach White and myself, or Coach White on offense, trying to get things in position. But defensively, they throw the ball a little bit, but they're definitely a run-heavy team with their front that they have. They can run the ball very, very well. The quarterback is extremely shifty, throws a pretty decent ball, but is very, very good on his feet. And they got a back that I think was out a couple of games ago but played last week. So they're, like I said, they're a team that's going to get better every single week once they get healthy and get their people back. So, but it all starts with their front end, that's for sure.
You know, you've been coaching a long time and have seen buys and have had successful teams. You've had, obviously, a successful team last year, win a state championship, but have had plenty of success as a coach. And one thing, you know, when you come off of a buy, some people wonder, are you going to be a little slow to get moving, or are you going to be so refreshed that you're going to start off fast? In your experience, what's kind of the thing that you look for, or does it make you nervous after a bye going into that first quarter of the game? What's kind of the thought of coming off the bye?
Well, just my first year as a head coach, we had a bye. It was kind of the 2/3 of the way into the season, somewhere in there, and we had kids going for this and that, and I mean, we had a lot of different things happen. And we came out and played extremely flat, and I think we got smacked by Lyman pretty good on a team that we were comparable with. They're probably a little bit better, but they whipped us pretty good, and this bye week wasn't very good. So after that, the last couple of years, I've really, really pushed. Like we get after it pretty good for those 3 days. I guess we only had 2 days last week, and then Thursday with the game. So at least a lot of our kids, we had quite a few of our kids play in that Thursday game. So they didn't get the Friday night lights, but we kept the first half as, you know, we didn't play everybody, but we played pretty aggressively for at least a half. So at least they had that game to kind of keep their mind straight. So hopefully we come out, you know, this week with practice being good, and Friday we're trying to hit all cylinders right away.
Well, all right, Coach, we'll wrap things up here. We're talking to Coach Tom Moore of the Soybees Chargers. They take on Hitchcock-Delaire. 7 o'clock kickoff. It'll be on Country 95.3, PureCountry.com, and on YouTube at Country 95.3 Sports. Final question, biggest key for the Soybees Chargers to make sure they get that win Friday night against Patriots?
About like every week, being physical. We have to learn how to be physical and get in positions where, like, so far up to this point, we've kind of been in control of the game in the first half. So what's going to happen if it's even, or if we're up one or down one, or something of that sort? So physicality, just like most weeks going to be for several weeks going on, being physical. And we're going to see a team that's going to be extremely physical up front. So hopefully we can match that play a little bit.
Well, Coach, hey, I appreciate the time. As always, good talking to you again, as we will talk to you next week on Coach's Corner. Good luck Friday night. Like I said, we'll talk to you next week.
I appreciate it. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. That's head coach Tom Moore of the Soybees Chargers. Back with more Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota in Pierre is proud to sponsor today's game. Whether you're in the market for a brand new Ford, Lincoln, or Toyota, or a quality pre-owned vehicle, our team is here to get you back on the road in style. From tough trucks to family SUVs, we've got the selection you need and the hometown service you deserve. Browse online anytime at CapitalCityFordToyota.com. Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, where community drives us forward.
It takes hard work to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than just sports. It also goes for your financial goals. You work hard for your money. You deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. Your local Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If your investments aren't getting you closer to the win, visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Pierre area Edward Jones office for a financial review. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Did you know it is important for your child to see the dentist at the time their first tooth erupts? A healthy smile begins at birth, and there are many variables, from healthy eating habits to good oral hygiene and routine dental care. Hi, I am Dr. Michelle Hofer. At Missouri River Dentistry, we enjoy working with people of all ages. Dentistry is our profession, but people are our focus. I invite families to come experience an office that uses the latest techniques and equipment to be sure you receive that healthy and happy smile. To schedule your appointments for your family, call us at 223-2021. Kids love us, parents trust us.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, so y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer, so y'all can shoot if y'all please.
This is Coach's Corner on your home for the Peer Governors, KCCR, and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Max Smith of the Stanley County Buffaloes. Coming into homecoming week, Friday night, they'll take on Redfield. Before we get to homecoming week and talking about all the fun stuff and all the extra stuff that happens with homecoming week, let's go back to last Friday in the win against Leola Frederick. And if there's a way to win a game the best way possible in your first win on a new turf field, I don't know how you top what you guys did on Friday with that win the last couple seconds.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It's one of the games you'll remember forever, coaching and that type of deal. And I've certainly coached a lot of football games, but to be down by 2 with under 3 minutes to go in the game and get the ball back and have to drive the length of the field to go punch it in and go up. Great memory for those kids, and they played great, and they found a way to get it done. And yeah, we got plenty to fix, but it's always easier to fix mistakes after a win than after a loss.
And Landon Boehm had 4 touchdowns. The duo, Weston Prince and Paxton Deal, with a lot of fantastic, the high-quality catches, not just, making a good catch here and there on 3rd and 4th down, making it a very difficult pass and catch to continue drives. You mentioned it last week about the wanting to get that offense and wanting clear skies to help you out, and it was a very nice night for football, and we saw exactly what Stanley County's offenses can do and score a lot of points and have some really big plays.
Yeah, that's what's great is we got a lot of tremendous athletes at skill positions, and they did a great job. I think it was Paxton had 11 catches for 225 yards and a touchdown, and it's one of those things that our whole offense is designed around Paxton and Brendan's ability to separate and get open at the second level, and we kind of dare teams to go one-on-one with it. And when Leola kept going one-on-one with Paxton on that side, we were very content to throw him some jump balls and let him go play wide receiver like he could play wide receiver. Our quarterback, Weston Prince, did a great job of identifying his matchups pre-snap and being able to get him the ball and make some big plays for us. And then Landon cashed in as soon as they started to rotate their coverage and started to double Paxton. Well, then other avenues are open, and that's what's fun with the system that we play. With us being no huddle and spread the ball around, it's kind of, we just take what the defense gives us, and our kids are catching on pretty quickly here that, there's always going to be something open, whether it's numbers to a side or a lot of grass to one side. There's always going to be an answer. We just got to be able to find it.
Yeah, and what a fantastic, again, such an awesome way to get that first win and get, not just the season, but of that turf field as well, and being able to win like you did and show Stanley County football in its true form, especially in the offensive side, and then it also moves into homecoming week, but also the rest of the season. Getting that first win against a good team, Leola Frederick is, while they're 1-2 right now, that's pretty darn good 1-2 football team, just like Stanley County is. That will pay dividends down the stretch of the season.
Yeah, and then another thing I'd love to say about last week is just the difference this year with all our experience. Last year, maybe a couple years ago, when these guys were freshmen and sophomores playing varsity football, if they would have got down, it would have been real hard for them to make the comeback and to really hang in there as well as we did. But we have a really good senior group that, even when we went down, we had our heads up high and we knew we had another shot at it, and we battled tough and we found some fighters, and we found some guys that were willing to lay it all out there and get after it and keep fighting, and that's what was the difference in us. I felt like us and Leola were two very evenly matched teams, and I think our want to kind of separated that for us, and I think that was big time for our kids, and honestly, it's big time for us coaches too. We love the momentum that gives us heading into, like you said, homecoming week here, a chance for us to hopefully build on some of the really good things we did on Friday night and fix some of the mistakes we had.
And that was going to be the next question, too. Homecoming is a great time for everybody, but it can lead to a lot of distractions. But after a game like last Friday, I think, and maybe the first part of this week has been really good practice. Hopefully it's been good practice for you guys to kind of build on that momentum. A game like last Friday going into homecoming might be a good remedy for coaches to kind of, I know you're nervous every week and you're putting in a lot of time and effort, but sometimes it can be a little bit extra nerves on how a team responds with homecoming. You hope that it goes well for you, it goes well for the kids, but a game like last week has to really be beneficial going into homecoming week.
Yeah, I think so. I think it just kind of re-energizes everybody to show exactly why we put all the time in the summertime and exactly why we train during the season and why, football is so dang hard. It's such a hard game, and it's physical, and it's violent, and it's tough. And we always say football is not for everybody, but it is for us. And, those kids really embodied that. And it's nice to see their hard work get rewarded like that. It would have been real tough coming into the week being 0-3, even if we'd have lost that tight game, to find a way to bounce back. So it's fun to see the kids be excited at film and be excited at practice. And like I said, all week long, every practice we have, keep the main thing the main thing. We're here for school. We're here to be great students. And then after that, we're going to play great football. And that's exactly what we're looking at. I know there's a lot of pomp and circumstance with homecoming, and it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, we got to be able to go out there and build on our last performance. And I think we got the team around us to do that.
Talking with Max Foth of the Stanley County Buffaloes. They take on Redfield on Friday night with a 7 o'clock kickoff. It is homecoming, final regular season game, home game of the season for Stanley County. Redfield's a team, they're 0-3, but you've been able to kind of maybe look at their film in certain different ways, because obviously Leola Frederick was their first opponent, so you have a common opponent that you can look at on film. But Brent and Hecla, you've been able to kind of watch them a couple weeks now in a row to getting ready for Leola Frederick and now getting ready for Brent and Hecla, for Redfield with Brent and Hecla playing them last week. They lost 61-22, but when you look at Redfield on film, what kind of stands out to you the most?
Yeah, they're young. It's one of those things that they're really young across the front, and they've got a lot of kids that they certainly play hard, but it honestly reminds me of us a few years ago when we had our, Paxton Deal and Weston Prince and Landon Bame and Case Calda, all our seniors now. They were starting back when they were freshmen. So it's a tough spot to be, to have to start some of those young guys, but they do some stuff that they throw a really good quick game. They've got good trick plays in there. They move the ball, but then they do some young kid stuff, some varsity level stuff. We feel like we can get them kind of misaligned a little bit, especially with our tempo and how fast we try to play. So there's definitely opportunity there, but it's one of those things that if those kids at Redfield stick with it and they do the same thing that, we've been doing and we've been building on it, you give them time, they're going to be a problem here in a year or two.
Well, and then, goes into the question of, how key is a good start for Stanley County, both offensively and defensively, with what homecoming brings, and then a young team that you get up on them early, whether, a couple of years from now that may not make a difference, but this year it might kind of shut them down a little bit if you get up on them early. So how key is a good start for Stanley County to score in that first possession and get a defensive stop in the first possession?
Yeah, it's one of the things we've been talking about all week. We've told the boys that, it was great to win a game on Friday night, but we just easily could have lost a close game too. So we can't take anything for granted. We can only keep the main thing. Focus on the next play, because that's the most important play of the game. So even with a tremendous start, if we start as good as possible on Friday night, then we want to be able to line up and play the best defensive play that we've played all season for that next one and try to compound that over time. And I think we've got the leadership in place with some of our captains and some of our seniors to really hold our other teammates accountable make sure we were always putting our best foot forward. And us as coaches too, we see it, and we see that, there's a few players on Redfield that, we wouldn't mind having on our team, but we know that going into this game, we just got to focus on football and focus on being the best version of ourselves. And I think we're going to be in a good spot at the end of the night.
Now, you just mentioned, too, not looking ahead and not looking behind and looking focused on just that one game. But it is the last game, home game of the regular season for Staley County. Obviously, if you go out and win the next, the rest of your games and end up at 6-2 on the season, likely that you're going to see another home game. Obviously, again, you can't get to 6-2 without now moving to 2-2. But, for these guys that are wanting to play in that turf field a little bit more than just the 3 straight games and be able to play, in the playoffs at home, whatever it is, it's got to be kind of a little bit of bittersweet right now. Maybe not even, just maybe a little bit more bitter that you're already, 4 weeks into the season and going to be playing your last home game of the regular season.
Yeah, it's one of those scheduling goofs that it happens every once in a while. And just, last year we were lucky enough to have 5 home games, and this year we get 3. And, it's tough that they're all 3 right in a row here. And, it's crazy to think about that our last regular season home game is going to happen here in a couple days, and we're not even halfway through September yet. So, we got a lot of football left to play, and that football's on the road. So, yeah, definitely, I'm sure once we get later in the season and we start playing some football, how we want to play our football, that we'll, as coaches, we'll talk about that and hopefully give ourselves a chance to come back to that home field again. But, yeah, it's tough, and it's one of those things that, it's kind of out of our control, so we just got to kind of live in the moment and cherish it and really enjoy our time here. And hopefully everybody comes out on Friday night and comes and sees us at our home turf one more time.
Couple questions here to wrap things up. First question, kind of more of a fun question, is what's your favorite part? Whether it was, you can go back to your high school days or whatever. What's your favorite part about homecoming?
Man, I mean, I'd be hard pressed to say anything other than the football game.
Right.
It's pretty awesome, and that's what a lot of us coaches even said that. Yeah, it's special. There's a lot of distractions, but just to see how excited the kids are to be dressing up each day and having fun in the classroom, and being able to be around a community that's energized and excited about football. That's a real fun part about it. To be able to carry that energy into Friday night and hopefully play some good football for everybody.
And then the final question, as always, biggest key here for Staley County to get the win on Friday night and go to 2-2.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is we got to do a better job of taking care of the football. It's one of those things that even last week in that close the close win that we had, we lost the turnover battle 2-1 to Leola. So you don't usually lose turnover battles and win close games. So we got to really make sure that we stay dialed in on that and secure the football. And then I would love to see our defense. They've been flying around. They made a lot of great plays last week. I felt like the second half last week was some of the best defense we've seen in about a season and a half. So hopefully they can carry that momentum forward and force some turnovers for our own and give our offense some short fields. All of a sudden, if we get some short fields and with our no huddle style and we like to push the pace, like we can light up that scoreboard in a hurry.
Well, Coach, hey, I appreciate the time as always. Good talking to you. Going to be fun Friday night for the homecoming game against Redfield. Again, kickoff is at 7 o'clock over at Ole Williamson Field. Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck on Friday.
You bet. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's head coach Max Foe of the Staley County Buffaloes. Back with more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. KCCRradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
This fall, take some time to think about your future while the leaves make their way down to earth and the last sunset of summer leaves us with an autumn chill. It's time to grab the nearest foam finger and break out the face paint. Rush the stands with First Dakota National Bank and forget how to blink. Fall sports are back with jaw-dropping plays, an electric atmosphere, and epic scores. Make some noise with First Dakota National Bank. Open a new account online today at firstdakotanationalbank.com. Member FDIC.
Most of us already know that Gales Gas of Pierre is the place to call for propane. They offer an automatic fill plan so you never have to worry about running out of propane. They accept debit and credit payments or a budget payment plan to spread out the cost throughout the year so you never have surprises when you get your bill. For delivery, convenience, and great customer service, call Gales Gas at 224-5518. That's Gales Gas at 224-5518.
At Shane's Pharmacy, your healthcare is important, and Shane wants to be the pharmacist to take care of you. Shane's Pharmacy will make sure your prescriptions are filled in a timely manner, they will answer your questions, and they will even deliver to your home or office. Call 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy, the pharmacy you know and trust. The number again is 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy in Fort Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now I'm playing for real.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. What play should I call now? Maybe corner three.
He's hot. He is hot. Keep feeding that guy.
Now back to Coach's Corner with KCCR award-winning sports director John Winkler.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Join me as Coach Kerry Wheelhouse of the Pierre Governor volleyball team as they will take on Sturgis and Spearfish this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday, at home at Riggs High School. But first, before we get to this weekend, Coach, let's go back to not even just this past weekend, but let's go back to last week against the Douglas Patriots last Thursday. You got a 3-0 sweep, that first win of the season at home in the first home game of the season. Your biggest takeaway from that 3-0 sweep for the Governors over Douglas?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway for us as a team is that we really didn't let off the gas even when we got a big lead going, which is what in the past we've typically done. So watching the girls just continue to get out there, get those early leads, and then continue to build those leads was something exciting to see for us.
And this team, and especially that Thursday night and really throughout the entire season so far, it has been able to get a lot of different hitters an opportunity to score, and we've seen that with, I think there was 9 girls that got a kill in the win on Thursday, which, when you think about volleyball, there's 6 spots at any given time on the floor, and the back row not usually having at that point a chance to score. So to have 9 girls score, and obviously some of them rotate to the front row as well, but to have 9 girls score is a pretty impressive thing to see on a stat sheet.
Yeah, we've really been working on spreading the ball around and not just being, leaning heavily on our pin hitters. Trying to get that back row, that middle back, to get some, hits out of the back row where it's a different look for the other side of the court. And we're running the 6-2 right now, having our setter come out of the back row, which always gives us 3 hitters in the front. So that really allows us to change up our offense, maybe run some different things. So if one person's not working or they're shutting down one hitter, we've got other hitters to go to, which has really been helping. We just got to get more experience and get those girls more touches on the ball, and I think we're going to see that continue to grow throughout the season.
And really, too, when you think about what last year was for the Pierre Governors and the girls that were on the team last year for the Pierre Governors and the girls that are seeing the playing time this year, there's a lot of seniors that graduate from this team. And you've seen those girls that were playing last year being better this year as you expect and hope to see. They're playing better volleyball as well. But just a lot of fresh faces, a lot of young girls that are playing, whether they are seniors or not, or they're old in the standard of high school. They're young in their varsity career, so it's been a lot of first-time varsity members stepping on the court for the first, now 5 games of the season.
Yeah, we lost 8 seniors last year, and those are some big roles to fill. And coming back, I think out of our 16 girls right now that we have on varsity, only 5 of them actually saw the varsity court last year. Our outside hitter with Paige coming back from having knee surgery, so she didn't get any playing time last year, and she's really stepped up. And we've moved Allie Keys from a middle to the outside, trying to change up some stuff, see where they're comfortable. So, yeah, all three of our middle hitters, none of them played varsity last year, so they're getting some good experience and getting some good touches. And the ones that didn't play a lot of time last year are really stepping it up this year. And we're trying to build that program. You know, the seniors and us have had a conversation about, you know, you might not see all of the stuff that we're doing this year translate to what, you know, some successes for them. But they're starting a program where we're going to start getting some of these girls so that we're not, losing an entire team and not having anybody with experience. So trying to get those younger girls onto the court, get them some experience, get them to see that and kind of start building that program from maybe a younger group up is something that we've been really focusing on.
Again, talking with Coach Carrie Wheelhouse of the Pierre Governors as they will take on Sturgis and Spearfish Friday and Saturday here at home. Of course, football is out of town, so being in town, a chance to go watch the Pierre Governors play Friday night at home against Sturgis, and then come back to the next day on that Saturday afternoon and watch them take on the Spearfish Spartans. We'll go back to then Saturday, again, before we get into talking more about Sturgis and Spearfish. Go back to last Saturday against Mitchell. A slow start for Pierre. Got better as the game went on, but a good Mitchell team that you faced on Saturday.
Yeah, they were a good Mitchell team. You know, they were running a lot of stuff at us, and we just came out super flat, just not really ready, I think, to play a team as good as what Mitchell was. You know, last year they only won 3 games last year, and you're definitely not going to see that. You know, even last night, I think they gave Harrisburg a pretty good run for their money, and going 18-25 with Harrisburg in the first set shows what kind of a team that Mitchell is. Coach Deb has been there for, I think she said, in her 35th year this year, so they've got a lot of experience. They're a pretty young team. They even have an 8th grader that's playing varsity for them, but they've really worked this summer, and they've got some connections going and some different stuff running. So very good team. We just have to kind of find that fire when we first get off of a bus, especially when traveling.
Well, and at least this weekend, next Tuesday, you'll do that against Washington. But this weekend, you get to be at home against Sturgis and Spearfish, and getting, obviously it's only the second and third time that you guys are going to be home this year. Which, that's going to be 3 times in 7 games, which isn't bad. But in 5 games, you've only been home just once. So again, being at home and being 1-0 right now at home as well, how nice is it to be able to play in front of the home fans this weekend?
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for us with Douglas, too. One of the things that we had going for us was we had an awesome crowd and could use the energy from the crowd to kind of pump ourselves up and be excited to be in front of that home crowd. And I think that's the same thing. Again, no football on Friday night. They're away at Watertown. And so before that really gets kicked off and going, you can come out and watch our girls at home and help support our team, get that energy going in the gym, and really make it a tough place to play for Sturgis on Friday night.
One thing too, on top of feeling like there's not a whole lot of home games right now, is that the second half of the season is filled with a lot of home games. You'll host Lincoln, T, Brandon Valley, Harrisburg, also Aberdeen, Brookings, and Jefferson to close things out. So while it does feel like the Pierre Governor volleyball team has not been able to play yet this year because they've not had many home games, the back half of the season is with a lot of home games, which again, if you want to play your best volleyball at the end of the season, well, when you're doing it at home, that's doubly as good to be able to finish out a season like that.
Yeah, exactly. Last year we were on the road for the last half of the season, and people didn't get to see the growth, at home in front of our home crowd, and I think that's what is nice about this year. And using that, our girls showed how they can use that motivation of having a good crowd and being at home on Thursday, and I think that's going to definitely help us down the end of the stretch of the season.
So let's talk real quick about Sturgis Spearfish. What do you expect from them going into the games this weekend?
Yeah, Sturgis and Spearfish have had a lot of games under their belt already. They have played a couple tournaments, so they've got a lot of games and experience. Sturgis hasn't been on the winning end of a lot of the games that they've come into, but I think, last year they took us to 5 sets. We definitely can't underestimate them. If we do, we're going to get, rolled at the beginning. So we just have to come out and be really fired up, ready to go, be sure that we're making it to be the first 1 to 5, first 1 to 10, first to 15, and try and get that motivation and that going right at the beginning of the game. Spearfish, they are still an incredibly tough team. They've played a lot of games, come out on the winning end of a lot of tough games. They're returning their setter that was a junior last year and hit her 1,000th assist. So, she's got the experience there. They didn't lose a lot of seniors last year, and so I think they're going to be a really tough team for us. But I think using that home crowd advantage and then also, using that motivation from Friday night, being able to play right again, I think is going to be in our favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, 6:30 scheduled first serve for the Pierre Governors Friday against Sturgis for the varsity game, and then 12:30 scheduled first serve against Spearfish on Saturday, and both those games at home for the Pierre Governors. Coach, before I wrap things up, as I always do, biggest key for the Governors to get 2 wins this weekend over Sturgis and Spearfish?
We just have to come out of the gate ready to play and really be fired up, ready to get aggressive at the start and make sure we're the first ones to get the points on the board.
Coach, I appreciate the time as always. Good talking to you. Looking forward to this weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon here on Coach's Corner.
Thanks.
Absolutely. That is head coach Carrie Wheelhouse of the Pierre Governors, back with more Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
People helping people. Have you ever wondered what the benefits are of becoming a Owyhee Federal Credit Union member? At Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we reinvest profits in you. We do this in the form of lower interest rates, higher dividends, and low to no fees. So come check us out or come in at 221 East Pleasant Drive in Pierre, because at Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we treat our members like they own the place because, well, they do.
Owyhee Federal Credit Union.
Look, it's no secret that owning a vehicle can cause a lot of stress, and they get a lot of wear and tear on them through every season. Graham Tire wants you to know that you can trust them with any problem that you have with your vehicle. They have fully trained ASE certified mechanics on staff, ready to handle it for you. From brakes and bearings to alignments and front ends. Let their experience work for you. Over 50 years combined means you can count on them. So if it's time for a transmission flush or even a simple oil change, the only name you need to know is Graham Tire, 421 West Sioux Avenue in Pierre.
Let me talk to you. You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
Yeah. Back here in the KCCR studios one more time to wrap up another edition of Coach's Corner. We want to thank our coaches, Steve Steele of the Pierre Governors, Tom Moore of the Sully Beast Chargers, and Max Voth of the Stanley County Buffaloes, along with also Carrie Wheelhouse of the Pierre Governors. We will be on a break next week. We've got a lot of things going on outside of the station, which will then be prompted to not have Coach's Corner next week. We'll have baseball coverage in place of that. We'll have coverage starting at 5:30. So instead of having Coach's Corner, we'll get a pregame of Major League Baseball, and then we'll have a game that will start just after 6 o'clock right here on KCCR. Don't forget the NFL week starts tomorrow here on KCCR, 6:30 with coverage of Washington Green Bay. We've got Pierre Governor football Friday night, along with also Sully Beats football on Country 95.3 Friday night. We've got 2 college football games on Saturday, 3 NFL games on Sunday, which includes Gray Zabel and the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then a doubleheader of Monday Night Football to wrap up Week 2 of the NFL season. So we've got plenty of sports on the way starting tomorrow night, and it's all right here on KCCR. Again, thanks to our coaches. If you missed any of the segments tonight, you can head back over to YouTube at KCCR Sports and play it back anytime that you want to. However, whenever you want to, whatever segment you want to, you can skip ahead. You can go back. You can check out any of the and replay some of the conversations we had for tonight. That's all on YouTube at KCCR Sports, as our shows will be archived on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Again, thanks to our coaches. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Coach's Corner right here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
You've been listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR, presented by the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection. Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com is also brought to you by Bank West, Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Todd's Electric, Owyhee Federal Credit Union, Shane's Pharmacy, Missouri River Dentistry, CHS River Plains, Edward Jones Financial, Thording Electric, First Dakota National Bank, Gales Gas, and Lamb Motors. Join us each Wednesday at 5:30 on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com for more Coach's Corner. This has been a special presentation of Riverfront Broadcasting Sports, Central South Dakota's sports leader.